Okay, this one's evaluate this sum. It's an infinite sum, and they're giving me a hint. They say rewrite the fraction as a sum of partial fractions. So I realize there's work down here. If you can read that and understand that, that's good for you. If not, I'm going to go to the whiteboard and work my way through it as if I were a student in the classroom. So I'm going to go to a whiteboard, and maybe not the whiteboard I want. Let me just see if I got another whiteboard here. You know what? Let me just do this over here. And what I'm going to do is just scroll to the bottom, and let's start. All right, let's do it. Get my pen out, get my eraser, erase this over here. Let me start writing this down. So I got, my notes out. I'm looking at it. I'm seeing that, like I'm a student in class. I'm going to write this down. They take their suggestion, and the suggestion is partial fractions. It looks relatively simple. This is going to be 2n. Let's see, plus 5, and then plus b over 2n minus 5. I can multiply both sides by the LCD. You get 1 equals a 2n minus 5 plus b 2n plus 5. I'm going to pick n's that I find to be easy, but you may disagree with this. I'm going to say n would be 5 over 2. What do I get here? On the left side's 1. On the right side, you'd get, let's take a look. If I took 5 halves, I get 5 minus 5, which is 0, so the a disappears. And then you get b. And let's see, 2, that's 5 plus 5 is 10. So I'm pretty comfortable that b is 1/10. Let me take n to be minus 5 halves. What do you get there? You still get 1 on the left-hand side. And now the b would disappear, and the a would be b times minus 10. What does that mean? You know what? I made a mistake. It's a. Let me get my eraser out again. You would get a to be minus 1/10. All right, I'm going to take my eraser out, and I'm going to erase this business over here. And I'm going to write down for you. So the a was minus 1/10, and the b was 1/10. I'm going to write this a little bit differently. I'm going to write it as 1/10 over 2n minus 5 minus 1/10 over 2n plus 5. All right, get my eraser out, and I'm going to move to the next step. The next step, oh, by the way, if you're looking at the answer key, I'm hoping you're seeing that in your answer key. If not, there's something horrifically wrong with what you're doing. So I do see that. All right, I want to do the partial sum now. The partial sum is going to be Sn, and it's the uppercase n, by the way. And what's that going to be? It's going to be n, that's lowercase n, from 1 to n. N is some arbitrary positive integer, could be 1, 2, so forth and so on. This is the term, but what I do is I split into these two terms over here. Let me write that down. So it's going to be 1/10 over 2n minus 5 minus 1/10 over 2n plus 5. I'm going to simplify a little tiny bit by factoring out the 1/10. And this is going to be sum. You would get 1 over 2n minus 5 minus 1 over 2n plus 5. All right, so what I do now is I don't know what that sum is, by the way, but I do believe that that hint will lead me towards the sum. And I'm going to write this down for you. So it's 1/10. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start writing the terms down. And the way I like to do this, I like to only do one thing at a time. So I'm going to do this guy first. I want to just write that down for you. And like if I started at 1, you would get, let's take a look. You would get 1 over minus 3, which is minus 1/3. What's the next one going to be? If I'm at 2, I would get, let's see, minus 1 over 1. All right, if I had 2. Now, I got to keep going. And someone says, why do you keep going? I want to see what happens next. Next one's going to be plus. It's 1 over, I'm at, I did 1, that's 2, this is 3. So it's going to be 1 over 1. All right? And then I'd go to, 4. And then what do you get? 1 over 3. And I start to realize it looks pretty easy. Like I could keep writing this down, forever if I had to. 2. Oh, not 2, but I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. Going forever, but that's not true. That would be 1/5. Oops, did it again. And I'm going to say, keeps going on and on and on. I want to go to the end, though. And what's the end going to be? And let's write that down. It's going to be 1 over 2 big N minus 5. I'm going to write the one before it, and that will be 1 over 2N. And so how would you do that? I have to go back 2. So it's minus 5 minus 2 minus 7. Now I'll go 1 back from that, 1 over 2N minus 9. All right, there's a point to this, and the point is to see something. Let me write the next one down, and let's see if we can do that. It's going to be minus, by the way, the next one is this one over here. I'm doing this now. You're going to get 1 over, well, that's going to be 2 plus 5, which is 7. And then you can get minus 1 over 9. Then you get minus 1 over, it's going up by 2, 11. Then you get minus 1 over, going up by 2, 13. Minus 1 over 15. I think you get the idea. When we get towards the end, let's write these down too. And again, I know it's difficult, but I want to get to the end of it. And this would be 2 uppercase N plus 5. I got to go back 2, so it's going to be 2 uppercase N plus 3, right? And then 2 uppercase N, let's see, plus 1. And then I'm going to try to see if I see something. Now, this is tough, always looking around for seeing things, right? So, when I'm looking at these things, I'm kind of hoping to see something, kind of disappear, right? Kind of disappear. And looking at it, let's take a look at this. I'm going to be real careful there, don't I? And I'm going to start seeing, I think this would be plus 1/7. This would be minus, and I know there's dot, dot, dot here. I know that. This would be 1/17. All right? So I'm wondering, when would I first start seeing a cancellation? And I want to point out, the first time I'm seeing it is with this one over here and this over here. All right, I'm kind of seeing that. And then I say over here, I hope you realize that, whatever here would cancel that over there. So forth and so on. All right? So I'm seeing things in the beginning that aren't disappearing. I want to point them out to you. I'm seeing these things over here. They're not disappearing. All right? Now, what I mean by that, certainly I'm going to add those together, but I'm seeing that a lot of other things disappear. And this goes on for some time, by the way. And then I'm wondering, towards the end, when would I start seeing those things disappear? All right? And I got to start thinking about it, all right? Because I'm not really seeing it at this point. So I'm going to start to insert terms over here. Now, what comes before this one over here? It would be minus 1 over 2N minus, I'm going back by 2, so minus 1. Then it'll be minus 1 over 2N minus 3, minus 1 over 2N, whoops, minus 5. Well, I think I'm seeing that. I hope you're realizing you're seeing something there. And what am I seeing over there? I'm seeing a bunch of cancellations. By the way, one before this is going to be minus 1 over 2N minus 7. So I'm going to say it's a tremendous number of cancellations at this point. And really, it's starting over here. I'm going to say this cancels off. I'll see that right there, right? This one would cancel off. Whoops, sorry about that. And you get the idea. So tremendous number of cancellations in the problem. I want to write down what I'm left with, though. All right? It's a lot of work, but I'm going to write down what I'm left with. I'm left off with 1/10. And then I'm left with this beginning part, which is this part over here. And what do I notice about this? I notice that, just simple arithmetic, this goes, and I'm left with 1/5. I'll write that down for you. That's the beginning. Now, someone says, well, what are you left with in the end? I'm left with a lot of terms in the end. All right? I want to put out the terms I'm left with. All these terms over here. Right, that's a lot to write down. But let's write it down. All right? Let's write that down. So what are you left off with? I'm left off with minus 1 over 2n minus 3 minus 1 over 2n minus 1 minus 1 over 2n plus 1 minus 1 over 2n, that's a 1 there, 2n plus 3, and then minus, that's a 1 there too, by the way, 1 over 2n plus 5. And this is Sn. All right? Now, by the way, looking at your key, I'm hoping you're looking at that now. I hope you see this 1/10, you see the 1/5, you see this term, this term, this term, this term, and this term. All right? What am I going to do now is I'm going to let n go to infinity. So the limit, as this big N goes towards infinity of Sn, will be the same thing as the limit as big N goes towards infinity of the sum n equals 1 to big N, and that was the compact form of it anyway, 4n squared minus 25, whoops, and that would be this sum over here, if I can do the limit, by the way. And I think you can do the limit. I'm looking at this. And what I know about that, every single term as n goes to infinity that I checked off there goes to 0. So we left off with 1/10 times 1/5, which is 1 over 50. And that's a sum. Thank you.